If you're visiting Italy on holiday and you want to make sure that you eat in all the right spots, then you might need the help of a local. And that's where I come in, because today I'm going to share with you 10 tips to help you eat like a local in Italy. If this is the first time you're watching one of my videos, my name is Elisabetta. I was born and raised in Italy, and I started this channel because I really want to help you experience Italy the way that we locals do, and especially when it comes to food, which is not always easy. Before we start, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It really helps me grow and it helps me bringing more interesting content for you. With today's video, I want to give you 10 easy tips that you can use next time that you visit Italy, whether you're staying in a hotel, in an apartment, regardless of where you're going in Italy. Hopefully, these videos will make it easier for you to navigate all the options that you have and will help you make better choices when it comes to picking restaurants and food spots in general. I hope you find my tips useful, and iniziamo! The very first tip that I want to give you today is that you don't need to go to a restaurant to eat well in Italy. What do I mean by this is there are so many other alternatives, whether you're looking for something budget friendly or something on the go. I don't mean fast food, obviously. I mean that there are so many places where you can try authentic local food that doesn't cost much and you can just bring with you if you are planning to visit the city or if you're going to the beach. Here are some of the places where you can do this. First of all, we have the Paneteria or Panificio, or Forno. That's also how it's called in some cities. It's basically a bakery that doesn't only sell bread, they sell so many other things. I remember I loved going to Paneteria or like to the Paneteria with my mom because there were all these like little snacks that I wanted to try. For example, you might find focaccia with tomatoes, onions, there could be different toppings. So you might be able to get some focaccia on the go and just have that on its own. Trust me, I know it's not just the regular focaccia, like you might be able to find different kinds of focaccias that are perfect to be eaten on their own. So that's one option. Some bakers have pizzas. For example, if you go to some bakeries in Rome, you're gonna find that they have the Roman style pizza and they sell it by the slice. So you can grab a couple of pizza slices and that's gonna cost you €1, €2. So very, very cheap. Another option is the salumeria or a bottega. You might be able to get your cured meats from there and just make your own sandwich. That's something that I used to do when I was at school and I wanted like a quick lunch and I had just a few euros. At the time, I was able to make myself a sandwich with €2, €2.50. You just go there, you choose the bread, they cut the meat for you. Sometimes they make it for you. Otherwise, you can just get the ingredients and make the sandwiches at home. And this is another easy way to have your lunch sorted if you are on holiday in Italy. The second tip might be obvious for some, but I don't think it's obvious for everyone, because every time that I go to very touristy areas in Rome, Florence, in all these big cities, I see that they are packed with people, which makes me realize that probably we have to talk about this more. You have to avoid all those very touristy areas and especially avoid restaurants that have these things in common. Menus outside. If you see that outside the restaurant you have, the menu with all the pictures, they try to make it look appealing. These kind of restaurants usually have the waiter outside that tries to grab your attention, invite you in to try their dishes, like the special menu, set menu, whatever. That's another red flag. In general, restaurants that are in very touristy areas, I'm almost like 99.9% sure that you're not gonna have a good meal. It's not going to be authentic. You're just gonna waste money or spend even more money than what you would spend in a good Italian restaurant. Those prices are just for tourists. They know that at one point you're gonna be tired and you don't have enough time to look for another place. You just want to have a meal quick. Sometimes when you are visiting a place, you just don't have the time to have all your meals sorted in advance or book that place that you want to try. And so it's much easier to go to those places, right? At the same time, if you're a foodie and you keep watching this video, you're gonna find out how to make sure that you plan everything ahead and you don't have these experiences anymore. One of the things that you could do if you are short on time and you want to have a quick meal is follow my number one tip. And this tip leads me to the third tip of today, which is avoid restaurants that have too many cuisines altogether. If you go to another country, maybe this is not a red flag. It definitely is for restaurants in Italy. One thing that is very difficult to find in Italy in general, I'm not saying this is something that I'm happy about. I think that we should be a little bit more open to try other cuisines, but it's very, very difficult in Italy to find other cuisines apart from ours. And that's because I feel like we are not ready to try certain types of cuisines. Like unless you go to Milan, Rome, depending on the areas, we have very limited options that really reflect the taste of locals. I would say that the most popular thing apart from Italian food is sushi. Most of the people that I know like to go to have sushi at least once a week. If you like sushi and you're feeling like having something different because you've had enough pizza and pasta and whatever, sushi is a good option. Apart from that, it's very difficult to find restaurants that serve sushi and Italian food together, for example, or pizza and Chinese food, Greek food and Italian food. If you see a place that has more than one cuisine together, I would personally suggest to go somewhere else. Now, one thing that Italians are very proud of is regional food. What does it mean? Italy is divided in regions. Every region, so every part of Italy has its own traditions, its own dialect, its own foods. It can be quite different. Like if you go to Tuscany and you go to Sicily, you're gonna find very, very different dishes. It depends on the weather. Regions near the coast are going to have more seafood dishes, whereas if you go to northern Italy, you're gonna find more meat-based dishes. For example, Emilia-Romagna has loads of tortellini and like ragu, so meat pasta. They are more heavier, I would say, dishes as opposed to Sicily or Sardinia, where there's more of a seafood tradition. So what I recommend before going to a certain part of Italy is doing a little bit of research on the most popular dishes of that part of Italy. You know, whether that's a particular dish that you want to try or having like 3 or 4 options and finding a restaurant that serves those options. And this is not only gonna help you to have the local food, but it's also gonna make it easier for you to spot the fake places. Most touristy restaurants are gonna try and have all the Italian famous dishes all together in their menu because they know that that's what most tourists know, right? Like, it's obviously very unlikely that a tourist knows. I don't even know what they eat in certain parts of Italy, right? Because I was born in Sardinia, and if I go to Tuscany or if I go to Rome or I go to other regions, I'm probably gonna have dishes that I've never had. So if you go to a place and you see that they have carbonara, which is from Rome, and they have pasta alla norma, which is from Sicily, and then maybe they have lasagna, and they tend to have all the popular dishes that everyone knows, that's not necessarily a good thing, because that means that they are just trying to make everyone happy. Whereas if your idea is to have an authentic experience and you want to try what people from that region eat, probably I would go for a place that has only food from the region, because they probably know how to make those dishes very well. So I know that these are like very tiny things, and someone might think, wow, like you guys are so like specific with food, but that's actually how it works. So yeah. Now, one tip for the gelato lovers: if you've seen my videos in Florence, then you might know this already because I mentioned it. And by the way, if you haven't seen them, I'm gonna put them here so you can have a look in case you're planning to go to Florence. I have 2 videos that might help you. When you are in a city center and you see one of those gelato places with amazing, colorful gelato on the display, you know, they have all these different colors. They are usually like mountains. They are super big and everything looks too perfect to be true. That's when you have to worry. That probably is not gonna taste as good as it looks. The reason is that gelato, the way that we would eat it and the way that real or the best quality gelato places serve it, it's not like that. It looks completely different. The way a gelateria looks like in my head is you go in and you have the bancone, like the display, and then you have the signs on top. In the signs on top, you are going to see all the flavors that you can choose from, the prices, the different sizes that they might have, and most good gelato places, they don't even have a display with the flavors on display. They are usually closed with a lid, and this is to maintain the quality. I'm not sure if it's also to maintain the temperature, like I'm not a gelato expert, but one thing I noticed in all the best gelato places is that you don't even see them. You just have to go, you choose the flavor, they scoop it out for you, they put it in cup or whatever you choose, and you don't even see them. So next time that you're choosing a gelato, make sure that, you know, if it's open, like an open display, it's fine. It's not necessarily a red flag. But what is a red flag is the color. Like if it's extremely fake, it probably has artificial coloring to make it look better. When it's very, very high, like when it looks like big mountains of gelato. That's when you have to worry. Before I move on with tip number 6, if you're enjoying this video and if you're finding it useful, please don't forget to subscribe, because your subscription allows me to bring you even more videos in the future, go to hidden gems in Italy and travel all around my country to show you everything that it has to offer. So please make sure that you subscribe. And now we can move on to the next tip. Now, whether you are in a hotel or you are in an apartment and you don't have any of your meals included, regardless of where you're staying, this tip is about breakfast. I would, at least once in your trip to Italy, have one breakfast in a bar or pasticceria. Let me quickly explain what a bar is. Now, I know that the word bar in most countries means cocktail bar or like a place where you drink alcohol, but in Italy, the bar is a cafe, basically. Bar is a cafe, is a place where you have breakfast. And pasticceria, which is the other word that you might often find next to a bar, because bar is the place where you get the coffee and you eat the pastry. If the bar is also a pasticceria, it means that they make those pastries in-house as opposed to getting it from somewhere else. So if you have your breakfast included in the hotel, I'm sure that it's a lot easier to do it there and then leave the house after breakfast. But I would try to have at least one breakfast in one of these bars. First of all, it's super cheap. You're probably gonna spend €2, €3 for breakfast, and you get to try things that you are not gonna find in a hotel breakfast. And second, because it's a very authentic experience. I just love going to bars when I am in Italy. I love meeting people for breakfast instead of lunches or dinners. I feel like it's such a nice way to start the day when you want to catch up with a friend. So it's an experience where you go and you see all the locals, but it's also something that we do when we are in a rush, like we didn't have time to have breakfast at home, grab a bite before work or before heading somewhere else. You go to the bar. Sometimes we don't even sit. The regular bar, like the small bars, they are always gonna have the bancone where people stand while they're drinking their coffee and they have their pastry. They don't even take the time to sit. And that's when you know, like, they're having breakfast because they have to go somewhere else and they are in a rush. So definitely try to include at least one breakfast in a bar in your holiday. Tip number 7, and I know this might be a little extreme, but that's something that if I had a driving license, which unfortunately at 27 I still don't have, but if I had a driving license, that is something that I would always do when I go to visit another country, which is to rent a car. And I'm not saying you should rent a car only to visit more places, which also is another good reason to get one, because there are so many places in Italy that are outside the city center, and having a car really allows you to explore an area in a much easier way. If I think about Sardinia, for example, which is where I'm from, probably you have to rent a car in order to get to the best spots. So that's one reason to get a car. And the second one is that many good restaurants are not in the city center. There are agriturismi, and agriturismo is basically, it's kind of like a farm. So they have the animals there, they grow the vegetables there. Basically, everything that they use in their kitchens is cultivated, is grown in the same place. So you go there. Sometimes it's a very popular options for weddings as well, because you can also stay there. So you go there and you just have these big meals. It's super cheap, it's such a nice place for birthdays and for family gatherings. It's convenient, and most of the time they're just gonna give you loads of food, and so you have to have a car to get there. This is just an example, but there are also Michelin star restaurants that are in the middle of nowhere. There are so many other places that you could visit if you had a car. So if you are an extreme foodie like me and you want to go to Italy mainly for the food, renting a car is something that I would 100% recommend. Another experience that you absolutely have to do at least once during your trip is visit a local supermarket. Find the biggest supermarket in your area, just go there and enjoy, because it's one of my favorite things when I go back home. You know, the fact that our supermarkets are so full of different services altogether. Just to give you an idea, like regular supermarket in Italy usually has, well, the vegetable section, fine, that's something that probably every supermarket has. But what I like the most, all the deli counters that you have within the supermarkets. You're probably gonna find a bakery, cured meat section, a butcher, a cheese section inside the supermarket. All of those things are all inside it. So obviously better to go to a local bakery, but you know, if you're there, you want to grab a bite on the go, that's also another good option. And what I like about supermarkets when I go on holiday is also that it's a good place to get souvenirs at a good price. So instead of getting, you know, like a box of biscuits from the souvenir shop, you just go to the supermarket and you're gonna find exactly what locals eat. That's literally where we go shopping. So it's much better, like it's a much nicer present to bring home. One of the things that, like, if I think about it, I realize now how crazy it is the pasta section. Like when I moved here by myself and I had to go and buy my food, and I went to, I think it was like a local Tesco, like it wasn't like a big supermarket, it was a small supermarket, but I remember going and seeing that there was 3 or 4 rows of pasta, and I was like that's strange, like they don't have that much pasta. And for me it was a shock, like it was a cultural shock, because if you go to a supermarket, whether, you know, it's a big one or a small one in Italy, pasta is probably going to be a full aisle only for pasta, different shapes, sizes, gluten-free, fresh pasta and dry pasta. So that's one thing I recommend checking out. And then all the fresh section is also very interesting, I would say. We're almost towards the end of the video. If you've enjoyed it so far, please make sure to like the video. Let me know in the comments if you're planning to go to Italy. If yes, where are you going? How long are you staying? If you've got any idea of what you're gonna do, I would love to know that, and hopefully I can also help you out. Now, tip number 9, and this is another budget-friendly tip if you don't want to spend too much on food, is to use some local apps to find restaurants and to get food at a discounted price. By the way, this tip is not sponsored by any of these apps. It's just like my personal knowledge and things that friends have told me, something that also my family does. And the first app is The Fork. I'm pretty sure that The Fork is in multiple countries at the moment. I don't think that it's been a long time in Italy, but I'm seeing it a lot from local food bloggers. I also had some positive feedback from my friends saying that they found it very useful. In short, what The Fork does is it allows you to find restaurants in your city that are offering discounts, or they're offering set menus in certain days of the week, and they have varies depending on the restaurant. I think that is the restaurant that has to decide what to do, but generally you can find discounts from 20% off up to 50% off. You can also find set menus that you won't find anywhere else in certain days of the week. So it's also much easier to go and look for a restaurant without the booking, because you can do the booking through the app. And yeah, so it's a very good solution and it's budget friendly. Obviously, the downside of this is that these restaurants might be out of the city center, so you might have to take a car. That's also a way to visit the city, I guess. Now, the second app that I want to recommend is Too Good To Go, which also, if you're in London, you probably know it. If you're in other cities as well, I don't know in what other countries, but I personally find it so useful, and my parents use it all the time, and I always make fun of them for this because they use it so much and they manage to find all the good spots. Basically, Too Good To Go is slightly different than The Fork because it connects you to not only restaurants but also bakeries, supermarkets, quite a few shops in general. Like, it's not only one category, and at the end of the day you're paying a fixed price for a bundle of things. So let's say that you buy something for €3, €4, and then you go there, you show them the app, and they give you what they have left in the store. So it's a good way to avoid waste and to have some different food and have loads of foods. And I wouldn't personally recommend going for breakfast pastries. I'd rather go for like a pizza place, the one that serves pizza by the slice, because that's still gonna be good the evening or the day after. Whereas breakfast pastries are a bit like it depends on how fresh they were in the first place. Like if they bake them in the morning, you cannot know all these things. So be mindful of what you choose, but generally I would say it's a great way to save money and to avoid waste, which is the most important thing. Last but not least, if you're in doubt, if you don't know where to go, if your internet doesn't work and all you see around you are touristy places, if you're tired, if you didn't have the time to do your research, ask a local, because that's going to be the easiest thing that you can do. Probably older people are gonna give you the best tips, right? They know their city more than anyone else, and they probably have so many local places to recommend, but at the same time it's very unlikely that they speak English. If you want to make sure that you can have a conversation with them and you can explain what you're looking for, I think it's much better and much easier to ask someone my age, or younger generations are more likely to speak and to understand English. Most people, especially in big cities, they are so used to having tourists and they're happy to give you recommendations. So if you don't know where to go, if you're a bit stuck, just stop someone on the street and ask them what you're looking for and where you should eat. These were my 10 tips to eat like a local in Italy. I hope that you enjoyed this video, guys. I hope that you found found it useful, I'm gonna ask you if you can please subscribe to the channel. Let me know if you're planning a trip to Italy this summer, where you're going, how long you're staying, and if you need any recommendations, I'm more than happy to help you out. I'm gonna go and make myself lunch, and I hope to see you soon. Ciao!